Everyone in town knew about the big black German shepherd named Rex. People said he was impossible to control, too wild, too dangerous. He had once been trained by the police, but after several failed attempts, they gave up. He didn't listen to anyone. Every handler who tried to train him ended up scared or hurt. So the police sent him to the town shelter, where he stayed alone in a cold cage. The workers called him the untamable one. Rex's cage was at the far end of the shelter. Most people avoided it. They could hear his deep growl when someone walked too close. He never wagged his tail. He never barked for attention. He only sat still, watching with sharp, tired eyes. Sometimes, late at night, he would let out a low whine, like he was remembering something from his past. The shelter workers thought he was hopeless. Then one morning, a man named Daniel came to the shelter with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Daniel was a single father who worked long hours as a mechanic. He wanted a gentle dog to keep Lily company when he was away. Lily was a quiet and curious child with bright eyes and soft brown hair that always seemed to fall across her cheeks. She loved animals and had been asking her father for a dog for months. The woman at the front desk smiled and said kindly, "We have some nice puppies for you to see, but please stay away from the cages in the back." Daniel thanked her and started walking with Lily toward the puppy section. But Lily wasn't looking at the puppies. Her eyes wandered around the room until she noticed a dark shape at the end of the hall, a big dog sitting alone in a cage. She stopped walking. "Daddy," she said softly, "what about that one?" Daniel followed her gaze and frowned. "That's not a good idea, honey. That dog looks dangerous." But Lily didn't move. There was something about Rex that drew her in. Maybe it was his sad eyes or the way he watched everyone silently, like he was waiting for someone to understand him. Slowly, she walked toward the cage. The shelter worker ran over quickly. "Wait, little girl. Don't go near that one. He's not safe." But Lily didn't stop. She crouched down near the bars and whispered softly, "Hi there. It's okay, boy. I won't hurt you." Rex lifted his head, his eyes meeting hers. For a long moment, the shelter went completely quiet. Everyone waited for Rex to bark or growl, but he didn't. Instead, his ears twitched, and he tilted his head like he was listening carefully. Lily smiled and reached out her small hand, not to touch him, but just to show she meant no harm. She made a tiny hand motion, a small downward wave. She had seen that signal once before when a therapy dog visited her school. It meant calm. She didn't expect anything to happen, but Rex's body suddenly relaxed. His tail moved just slightly, and he sat down quietly in front of her. The worker gasped. He's never done that before. Daniel couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Lily, how did you do that?" She shrugged and said, "I just told him he's a good boy." That small moment changed everything. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about it that night. He had seen grown men afraid of that dog, yet his little girl made him sit calmly with one simple gesture. The next morning, Daniel returned to the shelter. The workers tried to talk him out of it, saying Rex was dangerous, but Daniel signed the adoption papers anyway. He looked at Lily and said, "If anyone can help him, it's you." When they brought Rex home, it wasn't easy. Rex didn't know how to behave in a house. He barked at every sound and paced around like he was guarding a secret. He refused to eat when Daniel was nearby. The first few nights, he wouldn't sleep. He just sat near the door, ears alert, eyes scanning. Lily didn't give up. Every day, after school, she would sit on the floor near him, humming softly. She kept her distance, but always spoke kindly. "You're safe now," she would say. "No one will hurt you." She started showing him simple hand signals. When she waved down, he would stop barking. When she lifted her palm, he would sit. It took time, but slowly, Rex began to trust her. One evening, Daniel came home tired from work and saw Lily lying on the floor beside Rex, drawing pictures. Rex was resting with his head near her feet, watching every stroke of her crayon. Daniel froze, afraid to move, but Rex only looked up and gave a calm sigh before closing his eyes again. From that night, things started to change. Rex followed Lily everywhere. When she went to the backyard, he stayed by her side. When she fell off her bike, he barked loudly until Daniel came running. When she was sad, he laid his head in her lap. It was like he had finally found the person he was meant to protect. Daniel realized that Lily had given Rex something no one else ever did: patience and kindness. Where others shouted, she whispered. Where others pulled his leash, she used her hands and heart. But one stormy night, everything took a frightening turn. Daniel was in the garage working late when he heard a loud crash outside. He ran to the window and saw two strangers near his truck. They were trying to break into it. Before Daniel could even grab his phone, Rex stood up, muscles tense. He let out a deep bark that shook the walls. "Stay here, boy," Daniel shouted, but Rex didn't listen. He pushed the door open with his weight and ran into the darkness. Lily woke up from the noise and came running. "Daddy, where's Rex?" she asked, her voice trembling. Daniel's heart pounded. "He went outside, sweetheart. I'm going after him." He grabbed a flashlight and ran out into the heavy rain, calling Rex's name again and again. But there was no answer, only the sound of thunder and wind. He searched for nearly an hour before giving up and returning home soaked and worried. Lily sat by the window, her eyes filled with tears. "He'll come back, right?" she whispered. Daniel hugged her tightly, unsure how to answer. "I hope so, honey. I really hope so." That night felt endless. Lily stayed awake, holding Rex's collar tag she had removed earlier for cleaning. She prayed softly, "Please come back, Rex. Please be safe." As morning light began to touch the sky, Daniel's phone rang. It was the police. They told him they had found his truck a few blocks away. The doors were open, the thieves were gone, and beside the truck sat a big black German shepherd, soaking wet but unharmed. Daniel and Lily rushed to the scene. When Rex saw Lily, he barked happily and ran straight to her, wagging his tail wildly. She threw her arms around his neck, crying with joy. One of the officers smiled and said, "This dog guarded your truck all night. Didn't let anyone near it." Daniel looked at Rex proudly. "Good boy," he said softly. "You protected us." Rex licked Lily's cheek, as if saying sorry for running away. She giggled through her tears and whispered, "It's okay, boy. You're home now." From that day, everyone in town began to see Rex differently. He was no longer the untamable one. He was the brave dog who found love. Through a little girl's kindness, a dog who had finally learned what it meant to belong. But this was only the beginning of Rex and Lily's story. What came next would show the entire town that even the wildest heart can be healed by a child's gentle hand. When Rex returned home that morning, everything felt different. Daniel could see that the dog who once lived in fear now stood tall, calm, and proud. Lily couldn't stop hugging him, and Rex followed her everywhere, like he didn't want to lose her again. From that day on, their bond became unbreakable. News of what happened spread quickly around town. Everyone heard how the untamable German shepherd had protected his owner's truck all night without hurting anyone. People who once crossed the street to avoid him now waved when they saw him walking beside the little girl in the yellow dress. Some even stopped their cars just to take a picture. The shelter staff came to visit one weekend. The same woman who once warned Lily to stay away now had tears in her eyes when she saw Rex calmly lying at the girl's feet. "I can't believe it's the same dog," she said softly. "He used to scare everyone." Lily smiled and said, "He was never bad. He was just scared and lonely." The woman nodded and said, maybe he just needed the right person. Daniel started noticing how much good Rex brought into their lives. Lily used to be shy and quiet at school, but now she had confidence. She talked about Rex all the time, showing her classmates pictures of him. When she got home, she would sit in the yard reading stories aloud while Rex listened, resting his head on her lap. It was like the big dog understood every word. One evening, a police officer came to visit their house. He was the same man who once trained Rex years ago. His name was Officer Grant, and he wanted to see the dog who had made such a change. When Rex saw him, he stood still for a moment, tail down, unsure. But then Lily touched his back gently and said, "It's okay, boy." Rex relaxed and wagged his tail. Officer Grant smiled. "I can't believe this. I trained him when he was just a pup. He was so strong but couldn't trust people. You've done what we never could." Daniel smiled proudly. "It wasn't me," he said. "It was my daughter." Officer Grant watched Lily give a small hand signal, and Rex sat perfectly beside her. "Unbelievable," the officer said. "We used that same signal in training years ago. I guess he remembered it, but now he listens because he trusts." A few weeks later, the local animal center planned a big event in the town park. It was called Hope for Paws, meant to show people that every animal deserves a second chance. They invited families to bring their pets and share stories. The shelter asked Daniel if Lily and Rex would join. Daniel hesitated at first. "I don't know if he'll behave around so many people," he said. But Lily held his hand and said, "He'll be good, Daddy. He always listens to me." The day of the event came, and the park was full of people. Tents, balloons, and music filled the air. There were dozens of dogs, barking and wagging tails everywhere. When Daniel and Lily arrived, many people turned to look. Some whispered, "That's the German Shepherd who used to be wild." Others smiled, eager to see him. Rex stayed close to Lily, calm and alert. He didn't pull the leash or bark. When the announcer called for the obedience test, Lily raised her hand. "We want to try," she said softly. The crowd murmured in surprise. Daniel looked nervous, but he didn't stop her. He trusted her the same way Rex did. They walked to the open field. The sun shone brightly, and everyone fell silent. Lily gave a tiny hand motion, and Rex sat. Another small signal. He laid down. Then she lifted her palm, and Rex stood still, waiting for her next move. Each command was gentle and quiet, yet Rex followed perfectly. When she finished, there was silence for a few seconds, and then applause. The crowd cheered loudly. Some people even stood up to clap. The shelter director wiped away a tear. "That dog taught us all a lesson," she said. Reporters took photos. A local newspaper wrote an article titled, "Little Girl Tames the Untamable Dog." It talked about how love and patience changed the life of a once feared animal. When Daniel read it, he smiled and said, "Well, looks like you're famous now." Lily giggled and hugged Rex. "He's the real hero, not me." A few days later, something unexpected happened. A woman from the children's hospital came to visit. She introduced herself as Mrs. Turner, the hospital's therapy program coordinator. She had read about Rex and Lily's story in the newspaper. "We work with therapy animals who visit sick kids," she explained. "Many children are afraid or lonely. I think your daughter and Rex could really help them." Daniel looked at Lily. "What do you think, sweetheart?" Lily's eyes brightened. "Can we, Daddy?" "Please," he smiled. "If Rex wants to." Rex wagged his tail as if he already agreed. So every Friday, they began visiting the children's hospital. At first, some kids were scared of the big dog, but Lily would kneel beside him and show them her gentle hand signal. Rex would lay down quietly, his head resting on the bed, his eyes calm and kind. Soon the children began to smile and pet him. One little boy who hadn't spoken in weeks whispered his first word, "Doggy." when Rex gently nudged his hand. The nurses couldn't believe it. Another girl, who had been afraid of animals, hugged Rex before going into surgery, saying, "He makes me brave." Every visit, Rex seemed to understand his role more deeply. He walked slowly through the halls, careful not to scare anyone. When Lily talked to the children, he stayed beside her like a guardian. One day, a news crew came to film them for a special story. The reporter asked Lily, "How did you teach him to be so calm?" Lily smiled and said, "I didn't teach him. I just listened to him. He wasn't bad. He just needed someone to believe in him." Her words touched everyone watching. The video went viral online, with people calling them the little angel and her hero dog. Messages of love poured in from around the world. Some people even adopted dogs they once thought were too hard to handle because of Rex's story. Months later, the town held a small ceremony at the park to honor Rex and Lily. The mayor gave them a special medal that read, "For kindness beyond fear." Daniel stood proudly beside them as the crowd clapped and cheered. Rex barked once, a deep, joyful sound, as if he understood what the moment meant. After the ceremony, Daniel bent down and whispered to his daughter, "You changed more lives than you know." "Lily," she smiled and looked at Rex, "we did it together." "Daddy." That evening, as the sun went down, Lily sat on the porch steps beside Rex. The sky turned orange and gold. She rested her head against his fur and said softly, "You remember when everyone said no one could tame you?" Rex let out a soft huff, almost like a laugh. She giggled. "They were all wrong, weren't they?" Rex looked at her with warm, gentle eyes and licked her cheek. Daniel watched from the doorway, his heart full. The once scared dog and the little girl had become a team, not through force or training, but through love and trust. The story of Rex and Lily became a legend in their town. People still told it whenever someone said a dog was too broken to be saved. They'd smile and say, "Remember the girl who tamed the untamable?" And somewhere, in a quiet home with a red roof and a small white fence, a brave German shepherd slept peacefully at the feet of the little girl who believed in him first. Because in the end, it wasn't strength that tamed him. It was kindness.